After a long and chaotic campaign season, Election Day finally here.
That's right. The polls are open another 4 hours until 8 p.m. tonight. Voters, as you know, are casting ballots in key races that will decide the balance of power in Congress.
And we are preparing for a big night ahead. Brandon Scholz from the Capital Group and the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, Rothschild, will be with us all night long watching all of this. Yeah. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Good to see you. Welcome back. Good to see you both.
Nice to see you all.
The turnout today is big. What does that tell you?
Well, turnout in Dane County being big is great news for Democrats and progressives, because in Dane County and Milwaukee County, Democrats get more than 25% of their total vote. So if the turnout is huge here, Democrats are smiling.
Turnout in Milwaukee, though, can vary, especially in a midterm. And is that another area that is going to be critical for the Democrats tonight?
That will be critical too, but I'm hearing there's large turnout among Latinos and African Americans and Asian Americans and young people. So if all that pans out, I think we're going to have a real close race all the way to the end tonight.
Brandon, your thoughts on that?
You know, there are almost 700,000 early ballots cast too. I think that's significant. That's a little higher than what we usually see. It's tough to read that in terms of where they come. I don't know if there's anything that said one party or the other had an advantage there, but it's a good sign that turnout is as high as it is. I've heard Dane County had to order some more ballots. So we haven't heard much around the rest of the states. There are some places where people are walking up in 5 minutes and they're voting. Other places they're waiting an hour. So, you know, like Matt said, it's a good thing to have people vote. Everybody wants to have their side win, but it's important that we're going to see some turnout tonight that's probably pretty good size. The estimate was 2.7 million is what people were kind of peddling as the number. It could be a little higher than that.
Yeah, wow.
And like Susan said, I mean, I'm encouraging people to go out and vote if they haven't voted yet. Yep. Polls are open till 8.
That's right.
You can register today. We still have same-day registration in Wisconsin, so all you got to do is bring an ID and a proof of residency, and you can vote.
And coat, mittens, and hot
yeah. Of course, we're watching the governor's race and the Senate race and the lieutenant governor's race, but a lot of these assembly races are, I mean, let's talk about the supermajority, first of all. What is that?
So that will mean that if one party who has the majority in their body has 2/3 of the majority, and the governor vetoes a bill, they need 2/3 of their majority to override that veto. So that's important. So if both houses have supermajorities or veto-proof majorities, and the governor vetoes the bill they passed, it goes into law.
Yeah.
So unless you could take it to court and sue, which is also another remedy, you could see that. Now, we'll watch tonight on the Senate side especially, because there's about 5 races around the state that will determine whether or not Republicans can win enough seats to get the supermajority.
It seems perhaps likely in the Senate, but the House might be a different story.
Yeah, in the Assembly, Republicans would have to flip 5 seats. That seems unlikely, but still within the realm of the possible. And if they get the supermajority, the Republicans both in the Assembly and the Senate, even if Governor Evers wins re-election, the Republicans are going to be able to ram through their agenda and pass any bill they want. And the governor vetoes it, so what? They'll override the veto.
And how could redistricting possibly affect the outcome?
Well, I mean, Robin Vos gerrymandered the map here in Wisconsin even worse than he did in 2011, and so they've constructed a map that makes it easier for Republicans to get that supermajority.
And if Michaels wins, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I mean, you would expect that, you know, the executive branch and the Republican control of the legislature, they'd sit down and have a similar agenda. They're probably going to have some disagreements on what they want to do first, second, and third, and how far one may want to go to the other. That's a whole nother story. You know, there's Evers in the Republican legislature, Michaels in the Republican legislature. You have the Attorney General that's out there. So there's a lot of variants that are going to come into play no matter who wins. And so, you know, I know some will say, well, if it's Michaels and the Republicans, that's just going to be a cakewalk and they're going to do everything they can. It may be. You never know. I mean, there's going to be over 20 new people in the legislature, in the Assembly alone. And you see some divisions already in terms of, you know, who wants to go to what side. Are they going to focus on this issue or that? There's so much that's going to come after tomorrow. By the time we get to January and everybody puts their hand on the book and gets sworn in, that you're going to see all sorts of things in play. Tonight's just the start.
The first act, as it were. Has the former president Donald Trump had any impact on this race?
Well,
the governor's race especially?
He had a tremendous impact in the primary. I mean, he helped Michaels win over Rebecca Clayfish, and I thought Rebecca Clayfish was done bad by Donald Trump and by the Club for Growth that threw $5 million into attack ads against Rebecca Clayfish. This was a conservative outside group that usually just went after Democrats and went after Rebecca Clayfish. So, yeah, without Trump's endorsement, without that support from the outside groups, I don't think Michaels would have won the nomination. Trump hasn't been here that often since, so you know, he's not playing a huge role right now, but the endorsement helped Michaels get there.
But Michaels sort of walked away from that endorsement after the primary. Didn't seem to mention it much.
Yeah, you've seen that in a lot of states. You see here in Wisconsin, amongst lots of candidates, the Trump impact. I don't know how much it's going to have today once we get said and done. There's certainly will be places in the state up north on the western side of the state that the Trump voter will have an impact, especially the 3rd congressional district. But as we see in other states, you know, people have backed off, candidates have backed off. Trump's gone to a couple of states to do some rallies. So I think we'll watch some of those states just to see if that turned or if it had no impact.
It's going to be a fun night.
Exciting night.
Could be a long night, too.
Could be a long night. All right, we'll see you back here. We're going to be on OTT starting at 7:30, so, and then we'll be on the air at Channel 3.
OTT just means online.
Online.
The digital
Channel
coverage.
3000.
Yeah.
All right.
Inside baseball.
Thank you.
Great to see you. We'll see you all night long.